According to brand new polls, it appears that Democrats are beginning to lose their momentum. What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American, back again with a new video, and today we have to talk about the 2024 presidential election because we had multiple polls released today that show Kamala Harris's momentum is starting to fade, and very quickly. And I know that sounds crazy, like, wait, what? The Democratic National Convention was a week ago. Shouldn't she have maximum momentum? Yes, she should. Like, the convention wasn't 3 months ago, it was a week ago. So you should have very good polls for Harris across the board. In the last couple of days, though, there really hasn't been that many good Harris polls. There's been one or two that are clear outliers. But outside of those select few, virtually every pollster in the last few days, they're finding no massive 15-point shift, nothing like that. They're showing maybe a 1 to 2 point shift towards Harris. Maybe. Which, okay, yeah, it's better for Harris, but it pales in comparison to Obama 2008, Obama 2012, Clinton 2016, where they had 4 to 5 point shifts after the convention. Kamala Harris, meanwhile, is begging for polls to show her doing 2 points better. That is not good for her whatsoever. But at least some of the polls that were released in the last few days, they showed Harris doing better. The polls released today, however, were a complete and total disaster for her. Look at this. Quinnipiac. Yes, the same Quinnipiac that back in 2020 was claiming that Biden was going to win by 11, win by 15, win by 10. He's up in Ohio. He's going to win in a landslide. The same Quinnipiac that was off by 7 points, right? 7. We're not talking about a 2-point miss. A 7-point miss is now showing Kamala Harris with a 1-point lead. That's not a misquote. That's what they found. Harris +1, and with a full ballot, somehow they got Harris +2. But you could argue maybe that's sampling error, maybe that's statistical noise, whatever. But point is, it's between Harris +1 or Harris +2. After the convention, this should have been, especially from Quinnipiac, Harris +10, Harris +11. No, they found Harris +1. Now, people are going to argue, well, yeah, it's only Harris +1, but compared to their prior polls, Quinnipiac in their prior poll had Trump +2, which is fair. Like, okay, yeah, Quinnipiac did find a 3-point shift, but there's a huge catch to all of this. For starters, Quinnipiac's poll back in the middle of July, it was a registered voter sample, while the newer one was a likely voter sample. Completely different polls. You can't really compare that. But on top of that, this wasn't a poll conducted right before the convention. This was conducted in the middle of July. You know, right before Harris had her surge. So it wasn't a convention bump. Hell, you don't even know if this swing towards Harris was because of the convention or not. It could be because of the sample. It could be because of her surge earlier in August. Who knows? But she really didn't gain all that much support. She went from 47% to 49%. Within the margin of error. You don't know. That's the problem here. Even the polls that have Harris doing slightly better, there are so many catches to them. Their prior polls were conducted a month before. So you don't really know if this swing was because of the convention. That's the problem here. That's why Harris +1, especially from Quinnipiac, is a complete disaster, because you don't know if this was because of the convention. You don't know if this was because of her surge in late July. You don't know. But even then, Quinnipiac finding Harris +1 is just a disaster in its own right. The same pollster was off by 6 points, 7 points, upwards of 11 points. They were off in 2020. They were not a good pollster. They're just not. And there's a good chance they're making the same mistakes like they did back in 2020. Just to give an example, this poll is claiming Kamala Harris is winning 98% of Democrats. Listen, I'm not saying that 30% of Democrats are going to vote for Trump. I'm not saying that one bit. But in no universe does Kamala Harris win 98% of Democrats. Especially if she's losing 20% of the black vote. I mean, look at that. She's losing 20% of the black vote. She's tied with Hispanics, but she's at 98% with Democrats? There's a good possibility that this poll is understating Trump significantly. This is not good for Harris one bit. You would expect after the convention that Harris would be up by at the bare minimum 5 to 6 points. And especially from Quinnipiac, probably closer to 7 or 8. Not by 1, which is the margin of error. This is a tie. Not what you want post-convention. Especially if you're a Democrat. Like, you know damn well there's a good chance this poll is understating Trump. So if you're tied in the top line, more than likely it's off by at the bare minimum 2 points. If it's off by just 2, that's a Trump lead. You see the problem? We're not talking about Harris plus 4, Harris plus 5. We're talking about Harris plus 1. Only a 3-point shift from the prior poll. We don't even know if that's because of the convention or not, because that was a month ago. So the more you look at the Quinnipiac poll, the more apparent it becomes that, oh, wait a minute, this poll for Harris is not good. But Quinnipiac wasn't the only pollster to drop a poll today. You had Emerson release a swing state poll, and my goodness, this is bad for Harris. Like, this is post-convention, like I said. These should be the best numbers for Harris she's going to get. That's just a fact. That's where her campaign was banking on. And at best, she is tied or slightly ahead in Michigan. And that's it. She's tied everywhere else. Actually, she's down by 3 points in Arizona. Post-convention from Emerson. And Emerson's a good pollster. I don't like to shit on them because they are usually a good pollster. But even in 2020, Emerson did have a couple big misses in favor of Trump. They had Trump down by, I think, 5 or 6 in Wisconsin. In reality, he lost Wisconsin by like a half a point. Same thing in Pennsylvania. Same thing in Michigan. The only states they were relatively speaking correct on were Georgia and like Nevada. And they have small Harris leads. But you don't know if this Harris lead is real or not. You don't know if this is a convention bump, a recency bias. You don't really know. So a 1-point lead for Harris in some of these states, no, that's not good. It's not good at all because this should be your best polling, especially post-convention. And Emerson wasn't the only pollster to poll the swing states. You had Reuters drop this poll. They polled the big 7, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, etc. And their prior poll of these same states was Harris plus 2. Post-convention, it was Trump plus 2 in the same swing states. So a 4-point shift since August 8th, which I know that's not exactly right before the convention, but it's only a week and a half before the DNC? Yeah, so it's not like it was a month before the Democratic convention. It was like a week or 2 before, and that's it. But they found a 4-point shift towards Trump. Now, what makes this a big deal is if Trump is really up by 2 points in the swing states, even up by only 1, more than likely, he's winning Wisconsin, he's winning Georgia, he's winning Arizona, Pennsylvania, maybe even Nevada, and even Michigan. You see the problem? A Trump plus 2 in the swing states is an electoral college victory. Same for the Quinnipiac poll that had Trump down by a point. That's an electoral college victory. And the funniest thing about all of this, I'm not the only one saying that Kamala Harris's momentum is dying. Nate Silver, of all people, is now saying Donald Trump is the favorite again. Yeah, Nate Silver. Which, by the way, he was coping bad today. He was trying to explain his model. He was saying, well, Donald Trump's the favorite now, but I can explain why that's the case and why it's probably wrong. You can't make this up. Just like 2 to 3 weeks ago, Nate Silver posted this. The streams have crossed. The millisecond Kamala Harris became the favorite, he made a big deal about it. Kamala Harris is the favorite. My very accurate forecast is showing Kamala Harris as the clear favorite. It's over for the Orange Man. He was making a big deal about that not even 2 to 3 weeks ago. But the millisecond that his forecast shows Trump back in the lead, he made a big deal about it. He was losing his mind. He was trying to explain to everyone, no, it's because the convention bias or some crap like that. Really? That's your explanation? That the convention bump wasn't real? Which, by the way, that kind of proves everyone's point that Kamala Harris's momentum is starting to die. If the convention did not help her at all, and in fact in some areas hurt her, she is in deep trouble. She is. Because her campaign was banking on a huge convention swing, not a 1-point shift at best. They wanted a 5 to 10 point swing. At best, they're getting 1 to 2 points. At worst, they have Quinnipiac showing them up by only 1. The same pollster that was off by 7 points has her barely winning. And more than likely is understating Trump yet again. Emerson, they find the race 50-50 in most swing states. Which for a post-convention bump, that's pathetic. That's a convention slump. You would be expected to be up by 2 to 3 points at the bare minimum in all the swing states. Not down by 3 in Arizona, down in Wisconsin, down in North Carolina, slightly ahead in Nevada, and that's it. That's not what the campaign needed, or what they were banking on. They were banking on a huge shift, but they're not getting it. But some people are just going to say that Harris +1 is good news. It's not. Because even if Quinnipiac is absolutely spot on, like they get Harris +1, and it ends up being Harris +1, that's a Trump victory in the Electoral College. It is. That's a 4-point swing. Do you really believe that by some miracle, Kamala Harris could do 3 to 4 points worse than Biden, but still win the Electoral College? When Biden barely won by like 40,000 votes? No! The same polls have been wrong every cycle since Trump became the Republican nominee back in 2016. But now, out of the blue, the polls are spot on. No. And even if they are, they still show Trump with the advantage. I would much rather be in Trump's camp than Harris's, because at least with Trump's campaign, you can make the argument that even if we're down in Wisconsin by a couple points, that's way better than we were back in 2020, where the polls claimed we were going to lose by 15 points. We lost by half a point. So if the same point miss occurs, we're going to win. The Harris campaign, they're banking on continuous momentum that's dying. And not only that, but they're banking on a polling miss in favor of them. Something that's only happened once at the presidential level for Democrats since 2000. That's, of course, 2012, but that's a completely different set of circumstances. But we just gotta see, maybe there's some mystical polls out there that show Harris up by 15. I guess it's possible. But it seems like every poll outside of like 1 or 2, they're showing Harris is gaining no real momentum, no real swings, and in some circumstances, it actually swung towards Trump. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy this video, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the social media accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.